Welcome to this second training video. We will see here how to create the shape of the different garment parts in the third step of Model Plus. The first step is to define the shape of every part of the garment. With the Basic Garments library, you can choose a standard garment type to have an initial framework to start the sample. The garments proposed in this library are composed of the different garment parts, front, back, sleeve, and already have the minimum segments with the suitable realization styles that the user can customize more precisely. You can select the garment part you want to work on here. If the article has several sizes, you can also select the active size here. In the same way, the active edge can be selected here, external sides or color sides. You can adapt a shape to another machine gauge or stitch density using the stitch density window. You can choose here the machine gauge of the sample and the precise horizontal and vertical stitch density. Default stitch densities are saved in the user profile for each machine gauge and can be modified with the Save to Profile button. If a stitch density had already been entered previously, it's possible to change it and let Model Plus recalculate the shape taking into account the new stitch density in order to keep the right shape dimensions even with a different stitch density. You can also create a shape from scratch using File, New. The segments of the selected edge of the shape can be edited in the Shape Description grid. The grid is composed of 6 columns. The horizontal step of the segment is edited in the Needles column. The vertical step of the segment is defined in the Rows column. The number of times that the step of the segment will be executed is defined in the Repeat column. The Style column is used to define the realization style of the segment, narrowing with transfers, narrowing with cast-off, widening, and so on. In the Width column, you will see the width of the shape at the end of the segment. It's more precisely the distance between the edge and the opposite edge, or the distance to the symmetry axis if the shape is not symmetrical. You can see in the 8 column the vertical position of the point at the end of the segment. The user can directly edit the value of the first 3 columns, Needles, Rows, and Repeat. For example, if a segment is defined with -2 needles, 4 rows, and a repeat value set to 8, that means that the segment is a narrowing of 2 needles, then a vertical step of 4 repeated 8 times. When the user enters the steps of a new segment, the default realization style of the profile corresponding to the entered steps is automatically activated. Several technical segments visible in this grid can be grouped into a same logical segment. When several technical segments are grouped into one logical segment, it's visible with the specific color alternation. Each row of the grid refers to a technical segment, whereas there is only a different segment realization style for each logical segment. For that reason, the Modify Realization Style button is only visible on the first technical segment of the logical group. If the realization style of a logical segment is modified, the modification will automatically take effect in all the children of the logical segment. Please note that the realization style of the logical segment is shared for every size of the garment. Indeed, the technical segment's steps inside the logical segment are different from a size to another. The logical segment data are the same for all the sizes. To modify the realization style of the segment, the user has to click on the button on the right of the Styles column. The Segment Realization Style window is used to edit how a segment of the shape will be technically knitted. The family of the shape variation is chosen in the segment type selector: widening, narrowing, or vertical. When the final knitting program resulting from the shape will be calculated, the symbols affected to the operation type in the default values of the profile will be applied. With the positioning selector, you can choose a criteria that will impose the vertical position of the shape variation. Yarn guide going out, yarn guide coming in, even row, odd row, and so on. The width of the narrowing with transfers pattern is chosen in the realization width selector. With the selvage structure selector, you can choose a structure that will be applied on the selvage of the current segment: front jersey, back jersey, cardigan, and so on. You can also choose the widths of the selvage structure on the current segment. It's possible to apply the selvage settings to all segments by clicking on this button. It's also possible to reload or save the edited realization style as default value in the profile using the Load or Save to Profile buttons. To create a new part in the garment, you can do a right-click on the part selector. To insert a color on your shape, you have to click on the Color button. Then you can choose here the color type you want to insert. The available color types are V-color, horizontal start color. For that color type, additional options can be chosen in the realization selector at the bottom of the window: cast off or waste yarn. Round color. For that color type, the additional options are waiting stitches cast off or waiting stitches waste yarn. You can also select the back round color, which is a round shallow color realized only with waiting stitches. Finally, you can choose not to have any color. This choice removes the existing color if it exists. The Marks option is useful if the color must be realized using only the mark technique in order to be cut afterwards. The mark types available are tucks or transfers. The precise symbols used to do that are set in the default value of the user profile. This widget inserts the necessary edges for the color with the minimum segments to draw the desired color type. Afterwards, you can freely modify more precisely the outline of the color working on the color edges with the Shape Description Grid tools. Thank you for watching this training video.